My disappointment is immeasurable, and my day is ruined.
What's up, guys? Skippy Africanus here, and welcome back to another Cards of the Week episode, this week featuring the low-recoil, high-velocity 7.62 NATO, or more accurately, the Xm256E1. Now, I've also seen this stuff called 7.62 NATO Simplex. I've never seen that in any, official documentation, when I would find official documentation on this round. That was only stuff I saw online, but, I guess you could also call this 7.62 Simplex. Anyways, before we get into this cartridge's history, usage, and the very weird design it actually has, we'll first do what we always do and take a look at the head stamp, which on the top you'll see FA, that stands for where it was manufactured, Frankfurt Arsenal, and on the bottom you will see 66 for its year of manufacture, 1966. So now, there is practically zero information on this round, so as such, unfortunately, a lot of the information present in this video comes from cartridge collecting forums. In fact, I can usually gauge a lot about what a specific cartridge is and all that just by going off the head stamp. Kind of like how last week when we went over that Frangible 30-06, I was able to, figure out that it actually wasn't a T44 variant, it was an M22 variant just by going off the year of manufacture. But given, again, that there's really no info in this round, stuff like head stamps, there especially is practically zero info. But I did manage to figure out that this is, in fact, an E1 variant, which we will go into a bit later. That was kind of a little fun endeavor. Anyways, this cartridge was developed at the request of the CIA by Colonel Burkett and his team. The CIA was planning on arming Laos and felt that given the smaller size of the Laotian soldiers, a reduced recoil round would better suit them with their M60s. Now, initial development of the round would actually use the 82-grain projectile from the 7.62 duplex as its bullet, being designated the Xm256. However, it was found that the cup at the bottom of the bullet affected accuracy, so they would move to a 90-grain bullet that didn't have that cup. This specific cartridge would be designated the Xm256E1. Now, it should be noted that there actually were many more variants of the cartridge, with some featuring, aluminum and steel casings, and then in regards to the aluminum casings, some of those being brass washed and some of them not being. I even saw one where they actually did have an 88-grain bullet, so that tells me there probably was two different, or more than two different types of bullet weights. It's basically what is to be expected when, developing a round. However, one thing remained the same through all the variants, and that's how the bullet was constructed. You'll likely notice that in the cutaways, the actual size of the bullet, it's pretty much the same size as your standard 150-grain bullet from an M80 ball. And the way they were able to get a bullet of this size with almost half the weight was by making the bullet out of solid steel as opposed to lead. Given steel's less dense nature and, the fact that it actually does make a pretty good material for bullets, it was the perfect option to build a bullet out of for a reduced recoil round. Now, it should be noted that the steel used for the bullet was actually a mild steel, so while it would still get some better penetration, over lead, it was by no means an armor-piercing round. Now, with development of the round, the U.S. Army themselves would actually take an interest, specifically as a way to make full-auto fire with their M14s a lot more controllable. And in testing, the round wouldn't actually perform that much worse versus the standard 7.62 NATO, and they were testing it, out to about 500 yards, which on top of that, it also offered a 37% reduction in felt recoil. However, at the end of the day, the U.S. decided that it wasn't the best option and would drop the round. Now, as per the Laotians, who the round was, initially developed for, it doesn't seem like they ended up getting any either, though granted on that regard, it's not necessarily a solid no. I just never saw any, evidence that they even got them. So they could have gotten them, and I'm not seeing the info. Again, this, you would think the 7.62 duplex would be a hard round to research for. This one, there's no info. So I mentioned at the beginning of the video that, I was disappointed to find out that this was an E1 round, which mainly is due to the fact that I have an actual duplex round and felt that the standard Xm256 better complemented it given, it uses the same bullet. However, that being said, how exactly did I find out that this was an E1 variant, especially given the fact that there really is no info on, head stamps for it? Well, crazy enough, despite the complete lack of info on this cartridge, there was one bit of info that I actually found, and it was not only the, powder weight, but the actual type of powder used. Now, the powder weight was going to be what was helpful, but it was weird that I was able to find the actual powder used to load these rounds. And using this, I got the grain weight of an empty 7.62 NATO case, to which I then would add the weight of the powder to that, and subtract that from the total weight of the cartridge, which landed me at around 90.7 grains. pretty darn close to tell me that this is definitely an E1 variant. Which is also funny because there were guys actually, you know, pulling the bullet to determine the variant, because as mentioned, in a standard XM256 will have that little cup in there, and the E1 will not, when they could have just, you know, did some basic math and not damaged a very rare collectible cartridge. Now, you will note that, you know, aside from being called low recoil, it's also called a high velocity round. You'll also see that a lot online. I couldn't actually find the velocity of this cartridge. I would assume it's a higher velocity than your standard M&E ball, but it was something that I just, you know, flat out couldn't find for it. But anyways, I think that's going to do it for this week's Cartridge of the Week episode featuring the Xm256E1. I hope you all enjoyed the video as much as I personally enjoyed making it, and I will see you all next time.